All righty. We're going to get going here in just a minute, so get some coffee, find a chair, come on over. Woo. Morning. How's everybody doing? Feeling good? Yeah? Welcome back. Jake, how's the miingl going this morning? Early? We only got one, but we got one. We'll count it. I need coffee. How's the coffee this morning? Nobody? Nobody's doing it? Yeah. I'm excited. Well, with the weather, the turnout's pretty good. So we had 2 different presenters cancel because of sick kids. So we got Siobhan. Am I saying that right? Perfect. He stepped up late last night. And then Liz is new to the community, and she said, hey, I'll give it a shot. So thanks for everybody for stepping up. So between, seems like lots of sickness. Maybe you all don't have kids. I don't know. It seems like everybody's kids are sick right now. So, and then the weather, I was like, nobody's going to show up today, but it's a packed house. So thanks for making it. Thanks for being here. How you doing? Yeah? Losing a loved one is hard. Even when I lose like animals, like sometimes that affects me for a long time. So I haven't lost a parent yet. So I imagine that's harder than a grandparent, but sending our love your way. Yeah. Glad you were there for him at the end. Don't always get to be there. So my name's Robert. Who's new? Do we have one person in the back? You look new. Scott's new. Siobhan's new. Andy's presenting. What's your name? Nick. Welcome. What brings you to 1 million cups today, Nick? Okay. Congrats or condolences. So that's sort of why we do this group a little bit, which is like, it's awesome and it's hard at the same time. So it's sort of like AA for entrepreneurs, right? We all have problems. I do executive coaching. I do a lot of stuff. I'm a former venture capitalist, so I've been an investor for a long time, consultant, a bunch of stuff. That's entrepreneurs, we can't help ourselves, right? But my favorite thing to do is coaching because it's hard. And most people, besides this group, so one of the reasons we started this group about 10 years ago when I had co-working space here in Salt Lake, and one, it was empty space and we were looking for something to do. So we were drinking coffee and beer and talking about startups, and that's how this started. But the thing that was really important and why we kept doing it, why I've kept doing it for a decade, is what I find is a lot of people say like, oh, this is really hard, or it's really lonely, or like, I don't feel like I can share this with other people, right? It feels really heavy to like maybe set down or to give to somebody else. So you don't share it with your partner. You don't share it with employees, right? Sometimes you got a co-founder and you share it with each other. So anyway, this is why we do this. This is why I do it. So I don't know why you guys do it, but that's why I do it. So thanks for being here. That's why we're here. So, so if you don't know, every Wednesday at 9 a.m., most Wednesdays, unless it's a crazy holiday or a crazy snowstorm or something, we're here talking about business and small business and entrepreneurship and what makes it hard. And so we give two presenters the opportunity to share. Sometimes they pitch, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are a pitch event. You can pitch. Some people might give you a hard time. Sometimes I give you a hard time for it. But most people aren't here going to write you a check. Even if I write checks, I probably won't write you one. Maybe, but probably not. Most people, even as a VC, when I would invest substantial sums of money, the biggest thing and the reason I left VC is money oftentimes makes it worse, right? Working even through my coaching business, like a lot of times the problem that needs to be solved is unit economics or something else. Who said it the other day? I don't think it's Alex Hermosi, but they were saying it's like out of all the stuff you do, only 10% of it works. The most important part is finding which 10%, right? Like that's the hard part. So until you find the 10%, like all the money in the world is not going to help. That's the hard part. Everybody thinks money is the thing, but sometimes you need money. We all need money, right? Like I'm not judging. But part of why we do this on Wednesdays is because that's the hard part. And sometimes talking about it and getting advice or perspective or sharing stories helps us figure that 10% out. So a couple community guidelines if you're new. The main one is be friendly or kind. A couple other ones is like, so I give Joel a hard time about it. He loves the softball. He's a big softball player. Even Tim's the softball coach, but Tim doesn't usually throw up the softballs, but Joel loves to toss them up. It doesn't always help, right? Sometimes the easy questions turn out to be hard questions, or like you're missing the opportunity to ask a hard question. So you can ask hard questions kindly. So that's the biggest thing I'd push on. Take turns. Sometimes we get excited. We want to ask 2 or 3 or 4 in a row. Don't do that. If nobody else is asking questions, we'll let you keep going. But most times we run out of time and we go long. So try to keep it succinct and bring a friend. Looks like a couple people brought friends today. So thanks for bringing friends. Thanks to Danielle and Indigo Reimagined. She made the coffee and brought the creamer and is sponsoring it all this month. So Danielle, do you want to share a little bit? Where's she hiding? Oh, right in front of me. You were over there earlier. You want to come? Let's give Danielle a big round of applause. Usually we let the sponsors say something the first time, and then I try to keep it going the next few weeks. But thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, I thought I'd give Rob a break because he does a lot for the community. So so we're not strangers. I'm Danielle Schroeder. I have a little company called Indigo Reimagined, and I affectionately call it my event-centric beverage company, which is a fun way of saying at some type of event, we're serving some type of beverage. But for me, it's a little bit more than that. For me, it's helping to add to the experience so that everybody enjoys the event and to take away some of that onus off of the person putting the event together so that they too can spend time enjoying the event and chatting and connecting with people. So, Indigo Reimagined.
Thank you. And she's right, because I didn't have to do anything this morning and it's working. And I noticed there's some juice and people drinking juice, and I don't usually do that. So that's all thanks to Danielle. So our last sort of sponsor, it's mostly by effort and energy, is Jake in the back. He doesn't get much credit because he's way in the back and people don't always see him, but he's doing a lot to make a hybrid event work. Hybrid events are really hard. If you can tell up here, this is his company is miingl, and that's their product. He did a lot for Utah Tech Week, but we've got 4 people joining us virtually. And so we talk into the mic so they can hear us. If we don't talk into the mic, they can't hear us, and it's weird dead space for them. But if you haven't ever, so virtual events aren't so bad, in-person events aren't so bad. Mixing the two is really terrible. I would use a lot of curse words, which I normally do, but those would be bad ones, and I will try to refrain a little bit because it's terrible. until Mingle, I think. And Jake's been doing it, and we've been growing. We had some international people join from across the world. I think we had like 11 or 14 the other day. So thanks, Jake, for doing this and bringing this to more folks. Part of it's a win-win because they're a new startup and they're trying to grow, and so they're learning and we're learning, and he's adding value to the community. So thanks, Jake, for doing a Mingle. Yeah. And then the last one for us, you can always donate to the coffee fund. That's just up there. Usually without sponsors, I just pay for it, and then we get people jumping in, which is always helpful, but a cup you can pay for or not. But more importantly is if you're interested to present, you can go to that QR code. You can go to 1mcslc.com. It's a new website I just tossed up. It's not great, but it's better than the big fancy one at Kauffman. I think we're booked mostly through February until kids get sick and you want to be on standby, because then next week we'll need 2 more people. But besides that, we're kind of scheduling into March. So anybody that's interested, we'd love to have you. And then I will switch. We're going to make Liz go first and jump in because she was nervous. And so the easiest way to deal with that is to throw them in the deep end and then help. So I'll switch to her presentation here in just a sec. But Liz is new to the community. She's like, I want to present and talk. And she even applied. And then people backed out. And I was like, I could reach out, but that doesn't feel like the nice, kind thing to do to a new member is to try. But then she volunteered. So, yeah. But she volunteered, so it's not my fault. So, but before we do that, one thing I like to do as we transition, we started this during COVID, but I like to invite people to celebrate or complain, because oftentimes, again, we all have something that's weighing on us or something that's really exciting, and sometimes we don't get to share the really exciting stuff with people. And so part of what makes this community, how we get to know each other better, is to open up and talk about stuff that's awesome or hard. So I don't know if anybody's got anything and wants to volunteer. That first one's always a little scary. Then we get going. Anthony, what you got, my guy? I guess so. I'm trying.
You got to zoom right in. Yeah, that's sorry for all the online people. So I think this is something that might help a lot of people. But I recently got into this Microsoft program for startups, which Startup Stack had sent out an email about. It starts with $25,000 in Azure credits. So if you're doing anything SaaS-based, I would definitely apply for this. Just go to Startup Stack. It scales up to about $150,000 in Azure credits and then a bunch of other credits as well. So if you are in the SaaS space, go for it.
Okay. Hi, Blanca Luna Ainsworth, and I am on a high because I just came back from a multi-day mastermind in Los Angeles. It's my monthly mastermind with Brendan Bouchard and Ed Milet. It was pretty amazing.
Can't complain about that. Little mastermind.
We had our Red Sneaker Gala this last weekend.
Yeah.
It went amazing. We had about 230 people there, and it was fabulous. We raised triple the amount we did last year. So that's huge in 1 year for a nonprofit, like huge. So, and I have some awesome people here, Danielle and Oz, Wizard of Oz. And just so grateful. So, and we're just getting started on stuff. So if you want to know more info, come and chat with me.
Awesome. Congrats, Alicia. That's awesome. And the photos and the videos looked amazing. So what a great event.
I haven't even had time to post more than, I posted a link and then I'm like, okay, we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
All right. I want to complain. Anybody down? Anybody got something?
I got something.
All right.
So I just left my monthly military affairs committee meeting. You guys are okay. Trust me, you guys are okay.
We had one in the back.
So I lost a client this week, so that's yeah. So that's my complaint. Not to end on a down note.
So your fault or their fault?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I
but
hear you.
One day you're going to celebrate losing a client.
Sometimes it's a good one. Our friend Steph had her hand up.
I always like to complain about drivers and traffic. And so I'm going to add another complaint again. The speed limit, it's not a recommendation or a suggestion. And back Christmas Eve, I actually had a road rage incident. So for anyone here that knows that I had an accident last year, I added cameras to my car for a couple of reasons. And I was literally going the speed limit, and then somebody tried to get me to hit them. So I'm going to keep complaining about drivers because people are just like way too stressed and just doing really dumb things on the road.
That's true.
And also, Robert Bell, you did not get the memo as far as the black and green ensemble today.
Sorry. It's true. Okay, last one with Oz, and then we're going to tee it up to Liz.
The other Oz. So thank you, everybody, for pulling at my hoodie. Yes, this is my design. And thank you, Joel McKay Smith, for confirming for my event tomorrow night. That was pretty cool of you. Being a startup CEO has not been the easiest thing in the world. Anybody relate to that? Okay.
Nah.
All right. Yeah, nah. That's easy. The money's just rolling in. So raising seed capital has been a bit of a challenge. So we're doing something actually tomorrow night that we've never done before. We have a lot of artists on our website, okay? And they're all starving artists. They're all doing other things, but for the most part, they're artists. It's what they love doing. We create art because we must. Somebody asked me that question, and my friend Malia just kind of attacked them when she said that. And tomorrow night, anything that anybody purchases on our website, I am giving something away I've never done before. The majority of my money comes in from creating custom artwork, okay? Anybody purchases anything on our website tomorrow or directly from me, and they get a piece of custom artwork, any style, any type, any design from their photo, it doesn't matter. I've never done that before. It's going to be exciting because it's what I love doing, but that's what we're doing tomorrow. And if you have any questions, I'll be right here. And I got to give you a hug. I haven't seen you ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know this man's work, you need to go see this man's work because what he's offering you is amazing opportunity. So go on his website, see what he's done, go support him because his gift is worth more than you imagine.
Awesome.
Oh, what's your website, sir? There's a request over here.
It's so Nancy October, military, October, sillyanimal.art. I got connected.
Close. Yeah, we'll call it close. Close enough. Good enough. Okay. So thank you for sharing. Again, I think the easiest way to get to know each other is to talk about things we got going on. So from awesome events that we've been hearing about. So that's great. Losing clients, we can all relate, I think. So, and now Liz has been stewing for a few minutes. The clicker works. Computer Integrated Systems is the company she just joined. So let's give Liz a friendly and welcome round of applause. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Definitely was not prepared for this, but that's okay. Baptism by fire is probably good. So a little bit of background on me. I've been in software sales since 2009, but these guys used to be a partner of mine, and I just joined them December 11th. So out of the gate, January 1st, but I'm basically running my business as an entrepreneurial type, like joining clients, helping clients, finding clients. So I'm on my own in that aspect. So our company has actually been around for 4 decades. We provide world-class IT consultation and support. So anything from the very small business or very large enterprise business, JPEL, Getty Trust, some of those big universities or municipalities we've helped. But startups were really good with Azure and your Microsoft services. We can do free assessments, make sure that you guys are utilizing all the things that you're actually paying for if you have those suite services, and kind of go from there. Let's see, long story short, founded in 1995 in New York City. Our main goal is, where'd I get the woo? Oh, here we go. Yes. So really our thing is long-term mutually beneficial partnerships. We want to be able to get you from point A to point B and continually be your trusted advisor as you grow. So Trinity Health, like I said, some of these bigger ones, Globe Tax are some of the ones that we've done. Really good with some of the municipalities and getting them started, but also very good in the small business space, making sure that you're secure with your cybersecurity, identity, and access. Small business is the one place you do not want to get hacked, because most small businesses that do get hacked do not recover because of revenue loss. So this is going to be too small to see. We have had multiple Partnering of the Year awards, identified as top 10 identity access manager provider year over year. All of our subject matter experts have been in 20 plus years. In fact, I don't know who in the room's familiar with like Novell before Novell went out of the world to Microsoft, but one of our identity guys actually wrote the identity manager program like for Novell and when they started. So tons and tons of subject matter expertise there. The architects can do app development, web development, just kind of run your whole infrastructure, making sure you're running as securely and optimally as possible. So a lot of identity and access, cybersecurity, Microsoft services. We can be hired on just in blocks of hours. So if there's an upgrade, implementation, deployment, or migration that you guys are doing, we can just be kind of on-call support for that time frame. Or we can, some companies purchase this almost like you do with a lawyer, right? Retainer services and just pay X amount up front. And then they have access to level 1, level 2, level 3 engineers throughout the year. Help with digital transformation, and again, managed service provider as well. We've got our CIS Miami program, and we can do the whole infrastructure that way. We can do your patching, email security, endpoint security, make sure your MFA is set up with alerting and reporting and real-time responses. So, and I can send this. I'm happy to send this information and pack it to anybody that's interested as well. And then we also, have really good identity partners that sell products for that we support. So NetIQ is still one of them, which is now OpenText that bought out Micro Focus. And also Forge and Ping are a really good identity space, and they just mean merged as well. So we've got some good powerhouses here. Sonic Wall, firewall stuff. We can do the hardware stuff. Pretty much anything, like I said, to run securely and optimally as possible. One of the biggest things too that we have, I had a call on this yesterday. I sat in on my first briefing. It's Island Web Browser. Super big for financial institutions, any kind of money wire transfers. They're the leader in the space right now, and it's going to grow fast, but we've got about 150 developers in that partnership. It is app security at the browser level. So you can set it however you want with policies and stuff on the background. It stops it at the glass, right? It doesn't let it get to the apps or anything. So pretty excited there. I think that one's going to be one of the top 5 things you hear about in the next 5 years. So client testimonials and stuff, I'll let you guys kind of go through that. I can send this info pack out, like I said, to anybody who's interested. But my biggest thing is I'm out here networking with cybersecurity and AI on the rise. It's really hard to actually get human interaction. You can't get somebody's phone number. You can't get somebody's email. You can't just cold call or telemarket like you used to. So I'm out here trying to find ways without spending thousands of dollars out of my own pocket to build basically my business and my clientele for my company, CIS.
Awesome. So
I should have ended with ta-da.
ta-da. No, it's a little bit about not having enough coffee, but also trying to push a little bit. So you just jumped in. So you're in the deep end, and it's great. But it also seems like really big business stuff. So I only saw one person, Siobhan, was nodding his head like, this is really interesting. And everybody else, I think, kind of had like the, what are we talking about look? Which, again, is like sorry, I'm standing in front of the speaker. So help us understand, like, dumb it down for us, like, especially for small businesses. Or like, what's ideal for your size? It seems like you guys are doing really big businesses. Like, is this something smaller businesses should be thinking about and talking about? And like, how does that work?
Absolutely. So small business, if you guys get hacked, like I mentioned, that's not something most small businesses, it'll put them out of business. If you get your identity or, intellectual assets stolen. I previously, right before this job, I did take a year break from software. I worked for a company called Origin Brand Merch, and it was very small, family operated, and we just did, swag. But they hired a company like us, for example. It was Alakazam IT, but they hired them to manage all their passwords and all their remote users. So even if you have a handful of people, you still want to make sure all your stuff is secure. If you're in any kind of business where you're doing any kind of wire transferring, you want to make sure no one can steal that information. You want to make sure anyone that is involved in your business, in small business or large, cannot phish your employees. Just really, we can do security awareness training. We can do a free assessment to any size business to do network vulnerability, to make sure that hackers can't get in and get all of your information or bank cards or credit cards, whatever you guys are doing to conduct your business, basically. Is that better?
Yeah, I think it helps. I still think like, Liz, close your eyes. Raise your hand if this is something you think about, even like 10% of your brain power. Okay. So that was like 10 people. So I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to help fish around a little bit, which is like, this sounds like a hard topic for this group. So how do you make it relatable? So this is our search for that 10%, right? It's like, everybody should be thinking about it. It's like, I think everybody should in some ways, but even me,
So
I'm
if
like,
you're
oh, man.
the individual employee or something that clicks on that link that you're not supposed to and costs your company money and loses your job, that could be it. I mean, it could be that simple. Or, for example, I got a phishing email as soon as I started this because I was, and the hackers are looking for that, right? I just switched jobs, so I switched insurances. I was on a Cobra plan and then going to these guys' company plan. You get a link. It says, hey, you forgot to sign this document. They use you to get to your company, to your money, to your credit cards. It doesn't matter how small. Nobody is too small. No business is too small. They'll use you to click that link. They'll use you to attack the bigger businesses that you're talking to. 100%.
So they don't target the big companies because the big companies spend a lot of money here. They have whole teams that focus on their security. But the small companies that don't have any, one of my companies, our finance team got a link. Suddenly they were on their PC. They didn't know it. And then they were sending invoices to our customers with the exact amount, but different bank details. So our customers were sending money, and it wasn't us that lost the money. It was our customers. And so we had to reimburse our customers who had sent money to somewhere else. And once it hit that other bank account, it got transferred. So small companies are a target because they know you're not putting energy here. And it's very easy. Like Liz said, once somebody clicks on a link, they're inside, and they can also freeze your systems. So even if you're on Azure, they can get in there and they can lock it down, and they can ransom you to unlock it. And we're not talking $5,000 ransoms. We're talking 6-7 figure ransoms. So it's not to scare. It's just the reality. It is out there, and they're looking for vulnerabilities to jump into small companies.
Thank you, Phil, for that backup. I appreciate that. But yeah.
So I guess a clarifying question going back to like where this applies to small businesses. Are you doing education, or does CIS set up systems for those small businesses?
We offer both. So we could come in and do a vulnerability testing to see where someone could get in and hack you like that. But we also offer security awareness trainings that we can give to small businesses or business owners, even so you know where they can attack you guys as you grow. So
over here. I work with a lot of military and veteran businesses and small businesses who are doing business with government agencies. And if you're doing business with government agencies, that's a big deal. You have to have your security. And again, I think you were asked this question, what is the size? What are your intro price range for your smaller client?
It really kind of depends. If we came in and just maybe did a couple hours of security awareness training, we're very economical in making sure that you're secure because, again, we want mutually long-term beneficial relationships. So I have never priced it out yet, to be honest, but I know that it can come 1 hour, 2 hours. We can come in and just do the free assessment, and then you can come back to us and say, hey, what do you think this would be to make sure that we plug this hole, and this hole? And we could come back and say, we think that our guys can set something up in, a weekend or something, and then we'll give you consultation price. And it depends on what level of engineer you need, level 1, level 2, or level 3, expertise-wise, so.
I'm following up with Oz on that because I know I'm would be one of his clients. I know I need security. It's one computer, but it's as dangerous as anything. Still, I'm spending all my own money. I'm spending my retirement on this. So I'm not in it for $5,000. Can they look at my computer and say, you've got these vulnerabilities and it's going to be $2,000 to plug?
Yes,
Or-
they can look at something. It doesn't matter how small.
But there's a price range that for new people, you need it, but there's some things you really can spend on. And, so what is a basic, like,
I do not have a price list. It's all per.
okay.
Yeah. So I could have them, I can go back if we exchange information. I can have them say, okay, in a situation like this, what ballpark are we in? And I could give you a ballpark. But again, we can come in and just look at that and see what your vulnerabilities are. And then they'll meet, as the smart technical people, not me, and say, she probably needs X, Y, and Z. We could probably set up in X amount of time. And then I can come back to you and give you a proposal.
Okay. Just pitch when you're pitching. Always start with your name and the company name. Repeat it in the talk somewhere, and always end with your name, your contact, and the company name.
Thank you. Elizabeth, I thought everybody heard it when Bob said it. Sorry. Liz Bird.
So I just have a quick question. So let's say if you click on a phishing email, do you guys have the software capacity to see who's monitoring your accounts?
Yes.
Really? Interesting. Okay, cool.
They can find you mean like finding the bad actors or like who's trying to fish into you?
Like let's say if someone already clicked a phishing link or something, didn't download anything, could you still see like if there was another computer device like monitoring you?
I believe so. I can go back to my team with that question as well. From my understanding, like even the company that, like if we come in and do a network vulnerability assessment and we send out a test phishing email and you click on it and you click on it and you click on it, they can say, oh, well, these 3 people clicked on it. Half your team still doesn't understand the threat of identity or cybersecurity attacks. How deep that goes on the back end is above my pay scale. I would honestly need to look with the engineers on that. I am the people person, not the tech person, so I apologize.
So I think she brought up a really good point because you are trying to get in and network and get into businesses. I think for you, it is important to know, can you work with a one-person company, or with what you're doing, does that not make sense? Is that
I
not
said
going?
yes to that. I don't know if you heard that. Yes, we can come in, we can do a vulnerability assessment for her and find out what just that one person needs.
Okay.
That one person, like she said, especially with the content that she's working with, is as dangerous as can be, right? Because of what other communications are. And like Phil said, they're attacking the small business owners to get to the bigger players. They come to the small because most people probably raise their hand when my eyes were closed. They don't think about it.
I guess more my point, it would help you focus on who you need to target versus casting such a broad net.
My boss teaches me to cast a broad net. I have every vertical that I can help and every size business. It honestly doesn't matter if it's individual, like nothing is too small. If it's a $2,000 engagement that gets you set up and secure on your laptop and only your laptop, we're going to jump in and help on that.
Last one over here with Ed.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, Liz. So my name's Ed Lucas. I'm with 215 Tech. Similar to what Liz does with CIS, we do it on the Mac and Google platform. To answer some of your questions, in order to help the solopreneur or the younger business, as Liz is detecting and insinuating, there's only certain needs that you might have. How many of you guys have endpoint protection on your systems, McAfee or anything along those lines, right? Most of you will, okay? That is a very limited scoped tool, right? What she's going to present to you is stuff that's more at the enterprise level, as would I, right? On top of that, and I respect the fact you guys have endpoint security. I can't tell you how many businesses don't. To answer your question about endpoint security, the gentleman asked about, can we get bad threat detectors? We can't go back and find who did the malicious activity. What we can do is mitigate it before it propagates to anything else. So we're ensuring that your systems are backed up. We're ensuring that all of a sudden you can recover and be back and operational within a reasonable time. Obviously, if you need to be ready and reasonably back up and running within, 24 hours, the cost is bigger, right? If you can succinct go 3-4 days, the cost is smaller. It's relative when it comes to IT, right? For most of you, how many of you guys have domains? Right. So usually when you're starting out a business, when helping the solopreneur or somebody who's young in a business, that is where we kind of help you out. We can help you make sure your domains are getting set up, the right people have access to it, because most of you will say, hey, marketing person, here's my domain. The problem behind that is, guess what? They have access to almost like your address, your home. That is your IP, right? And when you give people too much access, that's when your email fails. This is when your website goes down. So we're there to protect you from that happening, right? The other thing too is, how many of you guys bought your licenses direct from Microsoft or Google? Yeah, probably. You're better going with a reseller like CIS or 215 Tech, right? That then all of a sudden when you're locked out or you happen to let go of the person that's running your IT, we get to say, no worries. We'll give you back your admin rights. So just to kind of understand and clarify more about what Liz is presenting, that's what she's kind of saying. I can help you from young stage to big stage.
Thank you, Ed.
Awesome. Well, we dove deep into security this morning. Didn't even plan on it. So well done, Liz. Was it as scary as you thought it was going to be?
I'm sweating a little. It's fine.
Well, you get,
Thank you.
we call this our magic mug. So for those that don't know, I think they're kind of magical. I got a mechanical engineering degree as my first degree. And these things are pretty cool because they keep hot things hot and cold things cold, kind of magical by themselves. But with it, more importantly, comes the ability to ask a question. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, building a business, the hardest thing is asking for help. So when we give these, we like to say, what can our community do for you? So with it, how can we help? What would make a difference?
Well, again, Liz with Computer Integrated Services. I'm basically looking to help you guys and protect you. And in turn, help me help you by building my clientele and being successful in my job, keeping, a roof over my head and taking care of the family like we all want to do, right? So, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's really hard to get a human on the phone. It's really hard to get even into a business anymore with no solicitations on the doors and being respectful of that. With AI on the rise, like I said, all these security measures in place, they block out salespeople like me. So I would love any connections, any network events that I should be attending to meet people and have these conversations and present in that would be useful for A, the community to learn, but B, for me to obviously build my personal business. I would appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's give Liz a big round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
Siobhan's got a quick question. Stand up because you're coming up anyways. Ask as you walk.
Just a quick question on implementation. Is it a enterprise appliance or is it device level implementation for these technologies in addition to the service?
Engineers to do deployment upgrades, deployments, migrations, all of that. So I think, as was mentioned, we can do it in a one-person laptop. We can make sure if that's how you're running your entire business, it's all secure and optimally running as good as possible for you, but securely is the main key.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Liz. Let's give Liz one more big round of applause. Mostly because a lot of people, when they come, they say, hey, I'm not quite ready, right? Let me think about presenting. And oftentimes I reach out to folks and they're like, oh, I'm not quite ready, which is totally fine. But I didn't even have to ask Liz. She just heard that we had a spot and she was like, I'll do it. I'm nervous, but I'll do it. So that takes a lot sometimes, right? Sometimes you've got to jump in, and sometimes salespeople have a little bit more of that than other folks. So we're all good at different things. But part of this is to say, if you're the person in the audience thinking like, I'm not quite ready, I promise you are, and it's going to be okay. And it's a little scary. It's always a little scary. So good job, Liz. It's not as bad as it seems. Sometimes having the mic's a little weird, but it makes me feel like a stand-up comic, so I enjoy it a little bit.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Telling
So
jokes.
let's give Siobhan a big round of applause.
Hello.
Yeah.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Here's your clicker. So Siobhan's with Digital
Fitness and Fun.
Fitness and Fun.
Digital Fitness and Fun, exactly.
So Siobhan found out he applied recently. We've been trying to go back and forth, and with people dropping out, I said, "Hey, you want to go tomorrow?" That
Like
was like
8:30 last night.
12 hours
Texting me,
ago.
I was like, sure.
He's like, "Let's go." I was like, "So Siobhan's here. So let's give Siobhan a big round of applause."
Awesome. Thank you. Would anybody be offended if I took a picture of the audience? So I could post on my LinkedIn. That's fine. You can photobomb. I don't mind.
They might be offended, but do it anyway.
Okay, I'm doing it anyway. I will do one of you guys, and then if you don't mind taking one of me, I will have proof from my wife that I am not skiing. Let's see. Actually, this side with the sign, and I'll put, if you don't mind, over there. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Let me check it. Wasting everybody's time. Oh, yeah. Excellent. Yes. Thank you. Great. Well, I'm actually based out of White Plains, New York. New York. Yep, exactly. 2 in a row. And I have a family business here at the Montessori School of Salt Lake on 33rd. If anybody's looking for preschool, daycare, Montessori, give us a call. And I come out here every quarter to help out with that business, the family business. But my side business, hobby, entrepreneur-aholic problem is working on Digital Fitness and Fun, which is a mobile consumer app. And let me quickly run through my contact details here. Siobhan at Digital Fitness and Fun. And Siobhan Nana Yakara is how you pronounce my last name, in case anybody was wondering. So I reorganized these slides about 10 minutes before I got here. So we're both going to go through this journey of these slides together, because I really don't know what the order is. But I did start with who am I? I have been in the New York area for about 20 years. I actually was born and raised in Salt Lake City. Went to the University of Utah, did my degree in econ up there. Have kind of toured around the country and spent a lot of time in ad tech, about 20 years in ad tech. I've done some corporate gigs. I've done a ton of startups, started companies, been part of 4-person companies, et cetera, et cetera. And I decided a couple of years ago that I wanted to go out on my own and try and do this very hard, uncomfortable process and lonely. You're in your apartment or house all the time, kind of wondering, why am I doing this? But it's super fun. I'm a solopreneur, so I'm the tech lead and the product lead, and I'm also funding this at the moment. So this is not a pitch. I'm just kind of telling a story, and what I'm really looking back from all of you is a critical eye and just questions. So let me jump in. So what is Digital Fitness and Fun? It is a automation and workflow company that is focused on the fitness and fun space. The first product that I'm building is called Lob Volley, which is a consumer app. And it is really, the core concept is to build a consumer sports social network, utilize that data, and deliver value-added AI-driven features. It is something that we're in development right now. We're hoping to release sometime in this quarter. And it's a team that's kind of a hybrid in India and the US. And really the first value proposition that we're adding is this workflow around how do group fitness and group sports events get coordinated. I feel like that is a really good entry point. There's a super high amount of friction in the process right now. I don't know if any of you do group sports, basketball, volleyball, something like that, or if you play tennis or racket sports, but finding partners, being able to coordinate time, kind of whoever ends up having to do that in your group is the loser. And everybody hates having that job because it's basically a lot of text messages and phone messages in addition to your real life and your normal job. It becomes a second job. So the idea here is really how do we bring automation technologies to that workflow and make it more friendly and more automated, and then bring basically people's networks onto the platform. So, why now? I mean, I feel like these are kind of obvious answers a lot of times, but, consumers are super experienced with apps at this point. I think 5 years ago it was still a little bit early, but now everybody wants centralized on-demand automation. When I do get up to the ski lift, I usually talk to people about this on the way up because they're trapped with me and they have to listen. And I find that like one of the frustrations that people have just on a day-to-day basis is not another app syndrome. But on the other hand, I think when you talk in terms of manual processes, people also want those eliminated from their life. They want everything to be just one button, something gets plopped on your calendar, you know it's gonna happen and you can move on with your life. And that is the idea of what Lob Volley as an app is supposed to deliver for tennis specifically. The other piece about it is existing solutions are manual and not privacy friendly. And coming from a corporate background, I have a view into privacy problems, security problems, as was mentioned, and we have built privacy and security built into the platform itself. And this includes things like ads controls, et cetera, et cetera. And then the idea is that the robust consumer experience, which is really how I want to get traction, will ultimately tap into what I call the supply side, which would be the asset owners, facility owners, sports clubs, sports networks, places that have places where people want to play. And in addition to the consumer revenue, which is how I imagine the app will probably scale, subscription-based SaaS revenue, there's also the opportunity for enterprise revenue on the back end by not only automating these processes for the clubs and the asset owners, but also bringing them more customers, because you're starting to build a network and you're starting to build referrals into basically a super fragmented kind of mom and pop owned market. These markets, however, are very large. They're not small. Oops. Okay. Adult sports market, family and indoor entertainment, youth sports, these are all very large markets, and taking percentages off of these markets is an opportunity to build a pretty good business. And that's the intent. From a feature perspective, we're kind of drawing on a bunch of different existing applications and trying to incorporate them into the user experience. So that, again, we're adding value to the consumer right off the bat. And why did I pick racket sports first? Honestly, it was just a problem that I knew existed for me because I like to play tennis and I hate having to coordinate everybody. And like I said, in my group, I know who the losers are because we've delegated this coordination to them. So, they spend a lot of time on coordination. And I see that it is a barrier to play, and it is a barrier to discovering new opportunities to play and new partners to play and new facilities to play. So there are a lot of kind of economic angles that I think can be tackled as well. I remember something, but I'll tell you guys in a minute. So I chose tennis. It's an area where it's very scaled. The audience is very knowledgeable about technology, and there is a need. If I had to do it over again, I probably would have picked pickleball because pickleball has just blown up and has been super popular, but it's really easy for us to extend in an adjacent way into that industry. So that's kind of the next enhancement level. And I could talk for 3 hours, so I'm going to make sure that I try and stick to my 10 or 15 minutes. But the idea here is really starting with a sport to build out the core technology and the core offering, and then expand into other adjacencies, so other team sports, other venue types as well. So in addition to the sport and fitness market, potentially expanding into what's called the fun and play market, which could be things like bowling and karaoke. As silly as those things sound, the back end of all of that is kind of the same. So extending into the front end for that would be like a very marginal investment. And so those are opportunities to grow. Key competitors. I don't know if you guys have heard of any of these brands. Team Snap specifically was purchased by Dick's Sporting Goods about 2 years ago. Relatively small exit. I think it wasn't disclosed, but I've heard it's like 60, 70 million, so something like that. So the exits are still relatively small, but I feel like the problem there is that nobody is really tapping into automation. Team Snap is basically glorified text messaging. So, yeah, nobody likes Team Snap. Team Reach is okay, but Team Reach is also like glorified instant messaging. So nobody's really leveraging technology to make the workflow smoother and simpler. Yes. Player Court actually, yeah, they take I think they take a fee off the subscription, right? It's not a subscription to them, it's a subscription to the court, I think. Or is it a subscription to them? Couple channels. Okay, yeah. And then Team Reach has some value added services, but it's usually free.
Team Snap is ad supported, but for functionality you got to pay. It's
right.
Pretty expensive. It's like $1,500 a year for a license.
Right. And then I think for me, I'll probably end up going the ads route just with my own background in advertising. I didn't build it into the first version. I just want to get adoption and try and get feedback first. But that's probably the easiest monetization route is advertising. And progress and roadmap. So 2024, a little bit behind schedule. We're supposed to be building our enterprise product, but we're still kind of working on consumer. We'll get consumer out, and then hopefully somewhere in 2025 is where I expect we'll actually probably get some money and like really try and pour in and lean into this thing. Yeah, and I'll skip that part. Nobody's writing me checks here, so all good.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe, you never know. So 2 million seed round.
You can practice the pitch. No harm in asking and telling people or getting feedback on it, right?
Yep. Go ahead. Question. Okay.
Hi, I belong to a couple of running groups. Have you looked at the app called Discord? That's actually what we use. Discord, yeah, and it's a free app. We migrated from posting the events on Facebook, and now it's on Discord, and it's a lot more organized. So I'll be happy to show you the app after.
Yeah, that's great. I've used Discord. I'm kind of like you. I don't really like it that much, but it totally works, which is kind of amazing. I would love to talk to you afterwards and just get your feedback on how you use it. Let me turn off my phone. Let me see here. Exit opportunities, like I said, kind of the typical players, but I feel like this is going to evolve a lot over the next 5 years. New players will kind of come into the space. And that's it. So questions?
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
How far along are you with your stack? There is a developer that I built a company with about 10, 12 years ago. His name is Trevor Meyer.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of Global Tennis Network or Global
Yes.
Pickleball Network.
I have.
He doesn't have a lot of the other things that you have,
Okay.
but he has the ladders taken care of, and he's an exceptional OpenStack programmer.
I would love an introduction. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Be more than glad because
Yeah, I've seen GTN before, I think. Like they have an amazing database, but they don't really have the consumer front end, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so there could be something there, and he's an engineer by nature, and it could be a good hookup. So we'll talk.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions? Oh, bunch of hands. Okay.
What is your unique selling proposition? In other words, what is it that you're looking to do better than all the companies that are doing similar things right now for a similar price?
I mean, the technical answer is to say automation, which is not a consumer-friendly answer. A consumer would say, "So what?" or "What does that mean?" But from a technology perspective, the differentiator is ease of use, push button automation for coordinating your play events and coordinating your social network, your sports and fitness social network. Right now, to do that, it's all done through text messaging or email. It's very manual. There's no automation. And an example of that is every night I have one friend who is, like I said, he's the loser in the group. It's his job to coordinate. So every night he stays up until midnight and he reserves a court at our club, because they only allow you to reserve at midnight, which is, I don't know why. So he's the one that stays up until midnight. He books the courts that he's allowed to book, and then at 12:30 in the morning, he sends out a text message to everybody, and he says, "Who can play? These are the courts that I got."
Siobhan,
and then people send a note back, and
you got to
do
leave
that.
room for questions.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. So a couple of things. I would recommend you see a presenter last week named Jacob. He's
Okay.
going to do a social media connection, and I'm a participant in the VA Golden Age Games for this year in Salt Lake City. We would love for you to have a conversation with us, because one of the challenges we have here in Utah is coordinating the participants here for training purposes leading up to the game. So
wow,
if you want to
okay.
do a nice beta testing with a VA
I'd love to do
signature,
that.
talk to me.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
So a friend of mine here in town, he's in the programming space, but he plays a lot of pickleball.
Yeah.
And he was talking about an app that's actually coming out where people are renting out their backyards where they put a pickleball court
Oh
in.
my gosh.
And they're actually monetizing that basically like Uber kind of a thing.
Great.
For
Okay.
for things. And it's just like, is that something that you've possibly thought about of
Actually,
how to do?
I never thought about that, but actually that would be a nice adjacency for me, because again, I'm looking at asset owners, and this is basically the what is that, Airbnb of pickleball courts, basically. So that would be a nice adjacency for me, because the value I'm adding is scheduling and coordination, automation, right? So I don't need to necessarily own the facility. I could work with an app like that. So would love to learn more. Cool.
Howdy.
Hello.
I've got a cool name for your, if you're open to cool.
I'm
name
open to cool
suggestions.
names. I think
Okay.
my personal name is pretty cool.
Well,
so-
not for your name.
Okay.
But, yeah. But I also have a contact with the guys that are the owners of Grip 6.
Oh, okay.
They're now doing pickleball paddles, and they're
Oh.
opening a pickleball courts. They've got a whole bunch of courts in their warehouse and stuff like that. So we can chat afterwards. I'll
Awesome.
give you
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Well, okay, here it is. I think it's a cool name, Coordinated Sports, because you want to be coordinated. Number
Yeah.
one, digital. When it says digital in it, it sounded to me like, okay, this is going to be, I'm going to be playing games on my phone somehow.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Digital
versus physical.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. Good to know. Ooh, coordinate. That is very punny. I like it. That's good. Coordinate.
I think a bit of feedback is
yes
conversation. It doesn't seem like a big enough problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's, when we talk about some of the things we have to deal with as far as coordinating with friends or whatever it may look like, we have headaches that we love. So the loser in the group might actually enjoy being the person. Like they might find
You might be
value
right.
in being that person. Like there is connection in that. So then from that standpoint, and where the business is, pickleball being the big thing right now, do you see there being longevity in the business that you're building?
Absolutely. Because the secular trend, in my opinion, is always towards more automation than less. That's just the secular trend where we're going. Everything needs to be easier and more push button. So I think that is the tailwind that I have, is that's the market direction in general. Now, your point about, is it a big enough problem to solve? I think that there are actually other problems that come up once you tackle this foundational problem, but you've got to get consumers in the platform, you've got to get data in the platform, and then you can start adding more value. So I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like, it might not be a big enough problem, but I think that there is a bigger problem out there as far as coordination that can be solved once you start kind of adding some value.
And I'll just respond to you really quick. I'm sorry. I think you're talking about the sexy thing in a tech manner instead of from a human standpoint,
good
and you're
point.
building a business that's focused on play.
Yeah.
So find a way to speak about it from the human standpoint. Like, I don't care about automation.
Right.
If I'm going to hang out with my
Totally,
friends.
100%.
Yeah. But if on the other hand, you're like, oh, it's easier for you to spend time with your friends, you don't have to think about it. Like the way we're speaking about it is
I like it.
thing.
Okay, that's super helpful. Thank you. And I have a tendency to do that, so that's really good feedback. Thank you.
Well, I might build on this a little bit.
Yeah.
And but it might be building in a way that doesn't feel great.
That's okay.
But so my experience has been that you find these groups assembling in three basic ways. One is through like a platform like Meetup, right? The other is through the sports, like the leagues, like the runners, the group of people that get together. The other one is through the facilities. I don't see any of those spending money. Like to set up a Meetup group is a headache, but it doesn't cost money. To do it as a well, maybe I'm naive on there too, but at the facilities, I see them use like a bulletin board, right? So
100%.
how are you going to convince a facility that doesn't have a budget for this to have a budget for it? And how are you going to convince a customer that's not paying for anything to pay money to get rid of their problem? I've dealt with that before. Is like the competition is spending $0. It's annoying, but how do you convert that? I think is going to be a key challenge for your area. And I think that he's got a great point. Like bring it down to the human level.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk about automation when I'm scheduling sports either.
You want to play
sports.
more. Exactly.
Yeah. So
totally.
I don't know.
And I should
there's something
probably
in
lead with
Thanks.
that. I think that's really good feedback. And then just on the revenue part, I think $5 or $10 a month seems like doable for a value exchange for something like this. It's relatively low. It gets some friction out of the way. And then I think as far as the enterprise integration, it's kind of like there's tiers. At the lower level, you're right, it's a bulletin board. At the higher level, where there's more aggregation, there is already systems where you integrate. So I think you kind of have to take the approach of like, where are we going to do sales? Are we going to go after small and try to aggregate like experiences? Are we going to go up to the top and try to integrate with data and systems? I still don't know. That's a little bit of like later this year, but point well taken. I love it. I know. I think you said that. Play more. I like it. Yes. Just email me. Get back to you.
So first of all, great job presenting. Thank you for
thank you.
taking it on short notice.
Appreciate
Well
it.
done. Building on what was said before, and you said something key there. You said, I think it's worth $5 to $10 a month. I wouldn't actually start writing any code till I knew that people would spend $5 to $10 a month. So
Sure.
my recommendation, building on what was said, is get your pitch on what the problem is down to 30 seconds.
Cool.
Walk up, say, here's the problem, lay it out for the group, and say, does anybody else have this problem? Who would be willing to spend $5 a month to make this problem go away? And in less than a minute, you're going to know whether you have a market or not. But you got to get that problem statement down to 30 seconds.
Okay.
You got to be able to communicate that to people so they're nodding their heads and they're going, you're right, that is a problem. Oh, well, I'll make it go away for $5 a month. All right, I'm in. Or, yeah, no, I kind of like, to this point back here, I kind of like that problem, actually. I kind of like being the guy that gets to solve it all. Some people do enjoy that. So that's where I would start. You got to
Awesome.
validate that.
Cool. Thank you.
He might pay $5 a month just so you don't call him a loser anymore, though.
Hey, great work on this.
Thank you.
Just from a coach's standpoint, I've been coaching for 15, 20 years now, several different sports. I would talk to coaches. I have a lot of interest here.
Yes.
Right. I spend a lot of nonsensical time playing patty cake, trying to communicate and work with. Another thing to think about is high school and college level sports, right? They do have the funds. I can tell you, I know they have the funds, right? Where you develop something that communicates better than what we're using currently.
Right.
Which honestly, my favorite right now, I've used them all. My favorite is Band App. It was designed to communicate for bands, like no joke, trumpet players and like for, and it works awesome. I actually really love it. It's one that you need to look at.
Awesome.
But I wouldn't hesitate as a coach, even volunteering in junior jazz or whatever it might be, as a volunteer, I wouldn't hesitate to pay so my players and I can communicate better, So just from, I wanted you to hear from Coach.
I'm so glad you said that.
You know
and
what
I
I
actually
mean?
took the
But-
slide out. I had identified probably 5 personas that were potentials. So in addition to coaches, there's also trainers, there's parents specifically, and then like you said, the teen market as well. So that's really good. I'm going to make sure that I incorporate that back in and really appreciate that, especially about the high school sports. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, my daughter uses band for dance, and I spend $1,500 a year on TeamSnap, and it's terrible. So,
As you're thinking about the areas you may want to expand, you really hit the nail on the head of pickleball and tennis being adult sports where pickup is focus, bowling is the last sport you will want to be a part of, because any adult that's going to spend money on bowling is at the same bowling alley every week at the exact same time. So they don't care about the coordination aspect of it because it's already coordinated by the league. So make sure you're paying attention to
the priorities,
the priority activities where pickup is a thing, because anyone that's not in a league is not going to spend any money to go, hey, let's go bowling on Friday night.
Yeah, the one that kind of came up to me from people who I showed the idea to was golf, which I hadn't thought about. I don't really play, so, but people were saying that they kind of have the same problem in golf. So yeah, I think you're right. Like prioritize.
It's like the Oscars.
I hear the music playing. Any other
I think
questions?
it's our last one. We're a bit over.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
I'll ask the last one. It's okay. It's how it goes. So with this,
whoa.
Yeah. Sorry, online people. All right. So you get your own magic mug. Thanks for showing up. 12 hours notice. That's the real entrepreneur in you. So thanks for doing it. Looks like you got some good feedback. What can our community do with this? We asked the question, how can we help? What would make a difference?
I think all of the feedback about what doesn't work or what doesn't make sense is most helpful to me right now. So my email address is here. If you have ideas about what you think would make this work better, or just from what I talked about that doesn't make sense, I would love the feedback. Thank you.
Let's give Siobhan a big round of applause. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to Liz for hopping up short notice, and Siobhan too. So short notice and real short notice. Lots of sick kids. I get it. It happens. So thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to Danielle for sponsoring coffee and being our beverage supplier. Thanks to Underbelly for hosting us. So if you don't know, co-working space, creative and digital ad agency. So if you need some, they do fractional design and creative work. If you need some, sometimes it's a lot to hire somebody. So they do it here, and they're pretty great actually. Co-working, if you want to stay beyond 11, they sell a day pass for $25. If you want snacks and fancy coffee, you can get a day pass and take all you want, I think. They got a monthly thing. Maybe don't take all you want, but like be reasonable about it. But they do sell it. And if you'll do me a favor, stack a black chair so there's room to network and connect, and you can stay till 11 or so, and then have a great Wednesday.